Do you really believe your problem is a lack of discipline? Or could it be something much deeper that you never had the courage to face? Because the truth is uncomfortable, and maybe nobody has ever told you this in quite this way. You don't have a lack of discipline, you have an excess of mental weakness. And while you keep waiting for that perfect motivation to show up, there are people, a silent minority, who simply act, even without desire, even when tired, even when feeling nothing. Have you ever been through this? You start motivated. You promise that this time it will be different. But within a few days, everything falls apart. The routine breaks, the focus disappears, and that feeling of always starting over comes back again, as if your own mind were playing against you. And this is where everything changes, because Miyamoto Musashi, one of the greatest samurai in history, already understood something over 300 years ago that most people today still ignore. Within Japanese philosophy, discipline was never about motivation. It was about mastery. Mastery of the mind, of impulses, of emotions. While you negotiate with your thoughts, Musashi trained to negotiate with nothing. While you wait to feel like it, he acted. While you try to convince yourself, he simply executed. Stay with me until the end, because what you are about to discover may surprise you and may completely change the way you see discipline, focus, and mental control. There is a brutal difference between those who live trapped in the cycle of procrastination and those who truly reach the top. And that difference is not in talent, nor in luck, nor in motivation. It is in something much simpler and at the same time much harder to apply. And this is exactly what begins to separate the 99% from the 1%. But before understanding how this works in practice, you need to see the invisible mistake that is controlling your mind every single day, without you even realizing it. Because deep down, you feel it. That silent internal struggle. That voice that says, do it later. You don't need to do it now. Rest a little more. And the most dangerous thing is not hearing that voice. It is obeying it without noticing. I know how it feels. There are days when the weight hits hard, the mind gets noisy, and the desire to simply do nothing seems greater than any goal. But it was exactly here that Musashi made me see something different. This is not a flaw. This is the battlefield. If you are also going through this today, comment down below, one step at a time. I want to know which of you is on this path with me, because when you write it, you own it. And when you own it, you start to change. And if this video is already making you think differently, already giving you a small dose of reality, hit the like button now. It is not just about helping the channel, it is about spreading this message, because the truth is that most people are stuck in this cycle, and maybe this video is exactly what someone needs to get out of it today. And there is one important detail. Down below, there is the hype button. If this content is hitting differently for you, click it. That signals to YouTube that this video is not just another one, that it has real impact. And the more you do that, the more this type of content reaches people who are in exactly that silent struggle. Now let me tell you something with complete honesty. I did not create this channel to be a distant teacher. I created this as a training space, a place for those who want to stop living on autopilot and start building a stronger, more disciplined, quieter mind. So, if you seek that kind of life, with more clarity and less mental noise, subscribe to the channel. Because your presence here does not only help you, it keeps me aligned as well. This is a joint construction, and if this subject made sense to you, also comment on what touched you most so far. Sometimes, a single sentence from you can be exactly what another person needs to read in order to keep going, because in the end, nobody talks about this. Nobody talks about this daily internal war, but it exists, and it is precisely here, at this invisible point, that the difference begins between those who continue to be controlled by their own mind and those who start to take real command. The hidden truth that is controlling your mind. What if the problem was never a lack of discipline, but rather the way you make decisions every day, without even realizing it? Because think about it. How many times have you started something with everything you had, motivated, focused, with that feeling that this time it is really going to happen? You put together a plan, organize your routine, promise that this time it is different. But a few days later, everything starts slipping through your fingers. It is not lack of effort. It is not lack of knowledge. It is as if something invisible is pulling you back. Have you ever noticed this? You wake up decided, but throughout the day you give in. First a small distraction, then another. Before you know it, you have already lost focus, already strayed from the path, and at the end of the day that heavy feeling of frustration comes back, as if you were always going in circles. This is the point nobody talks about. You do not lose because you do not know what to do. You lose because you cannot sustain what you already know, and that changes everything. Because the real problem is not a lack of discipline, it is a lack of mastery over your own mind. And this is where something that Miyamoto Musashi understood with brutal clarity comes in. The greatest battle was never external. It was always internal. It is not about the world distracting you. It is about you allowing yourself to be distracted. It is not about a lack of time. It is about a lack of control over your choices. There is a hidden truth behind the scenes of your routine. You are constantly negotiating with your impulses, and most of the time, you lose. You negotiate getting out of bed. You negotiate starting. You negotiate continuing. And each one of those small decisions is shaping your identity without you realizing it. Because discipline does not break all at once. It is lost in micro decisions. And that is why you feel tired. It is not just physical, it is mental. It is the weight of constantly fighting against yourself. It is the wear of deciding all the time and still not trusting your own mind. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject because there is a specific point, almost invisible, where all of this begins, an exact moment where you decide, even without realizing it, whether you will continue being controlled or whether you will start to truly take command. And when you understand that point, your entire journey changes. The break that separates the weak from the disciplined. There is a silent, almost imperceptible moment that defines everything in your life. A point where most people fail, not for lack of ability, but because of an illusion they carry without questioning. The illusion that you need to feel like it in order to act. And here is the truth that changes everything. Discipline is not something you feel, it is something you impose. Stop for a moment and observe your own routine. How many times have you said, "I am not in the right headspace for this today"? How many important decisions were postponed because you were not in the mood? It seems harmless, but this pattern, repeated every day behind the scenes of your life, is shaping who you become. And the most dangerous part is that it feels normal, but it is not. The 99% live as hostages of their own emotional state. If they feel good, they act. If they are tired, they stop. If they are motivated, they move forward. If they are not, they freeze. It is an invisible cycle that keeps the majority stuck in the same reality year after year. But there is another group, small, silent, different. The 1% do not wait to feel like it. They do not negotiate with their mood, nor with fatigue, nor with doubt. They simply execute. And that has nothing to do with being stronger, more talented, or more special. It has to do with an internal decision, a brutal decision, to act regardless of what they are feeling. Miyamoto Musashi lived exactly at that level of mindset. For him, action did not depend on emotional state. There was no room for, "I am not in the mood today." There was only the path and execution. And this is where the true transformation happens. Because the moment you stop waiting to feel like it and start acting even without wanting to, something changes inside you. Your mind starts to understand that it is no longer in control. You break the pattern, you step off autopilot, and for the first time, you begin to build real mastery. This is what few people realize. The pain you feel when you act without desire is not a problem. It is the process. It is the signal that you are leaving the zone where your mind gives the orders and entering the zone where you give the orders. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject because there is a mechanism behind all of this, a kind of mental key that, once activated, eliminates this constant need for motivation and puts you in a completely different state of action, focus, and clarity. And when you understand this, acting stops being a struggle and becomes part of your nature. And when you start to notice this in practice, everything changes quietly because it is no longer about trying to have discipline. It is about building an internal system that compels you to act, regardless of what you feel. And it is exactly at this point that many people get stuck, not for lack of will, but for not knowing how to turn this understanding into real action in daily life. And it was precisely with that in mind that I put together a very straight-to-the-point material called The Path of Japanese Discipline. It complements everything we are talking about here, but in a practical way. No unnecessary theory. It is a guide that shows how to apply this mindset in your routine, how to get out of procrastination, how to master these emotional swings, and how to build a truly disciplined mind. One that acts even when fatigue is heavy, even when motivation disappears, even when nobody is watching. It is basically the kind of structure that accelerates this internal transformation, without you having to figure it all out on your own behind the scenes of your own journey. If it makes sense to you, take a look at the material I left down below. It can save you a lot of time in this process. And being completely honest, I do not know how long this content will remain available. I may end up taking it down in the next few days or making it unavailable for a while. So if you feel this can help you, take advantage of it while it is still accessible. But the most important thing here is not just consuming more content, it is understanding what lies behind all of this. Because there is a next level of this discipline that almost nobody talks about, and it is exactly what begins to separate those who merely try from those who truly transform. The cut that defines who controls and who is controlled. There is a point in your journey where everything is already clear in your mind, but nothing has changed in your life. And this is the most dangerous place of all, because here you can no longer use the excuse of ignorance. You know what needs to be done, you know where you're going wrong, you know how you should act, but you still keep repeating the same patterns. And this does not happen for lack of discipline. It happens because you have not truly decided yet who you are, because there is a brutal difference between understanding something and becoming it. And most people live trapped in exactly that space. They accumulate knowledge, watch videos, consume content, feel that momentary impact, but they do not cross the line where true transformation begins. And that line is not external, it is inside you. Stop for a moment and observe this carefully. If every action depends on what you feel, then you are not in control. You are reacting. And this is exactly where the first principle that completely changes the game comes in. Action before emotion. It may sound simple, but the impact this has on your mindset is enormous. You do not wait to feel like it. You do not negotiate with discomfort. You start even without wanting to. Because when you do this, something quiet happens behind the scenes of your mind. It starts to understand that it is no longer in charge. The body acts and the mind adapts. And this breaks an old pattern that has kept you stuck for so long. Miyamoto Musashi lived this way. For him, that modern idea of, "I am not in the mood today," simply did not exist. There was only the path and execution. Action came first, always. And when you start applying this, even in small decisions, you begin a real transformation. But here comes the second point, and perhaps the most overlooked of all. It is useless to act if you remain surrounded by distractions, because the hidden truth is that your mind is not weak. It is overloaded. Excess stimulation, excess choices, excess distraction. And in that chaos, any attempt at discipline gets lost. That is why the second principle is as direct as it is uncomfortable: immediate elimination of everything that is not essential. Musashi did not accumulate distractions. He eliminated, he simplified, he reduced. Discipline, at the highest level, is not about doing more. It is about removing what weakens you. It is about creating an environment where acting becomes inevitable. Because as long as you keep everything around you pulling at your attention, you are, in practice, sabotaging your own evolution. And there is no middle ground here. Either you control your impulses or they control your life. And most people do not even realize they lost that control a long time ago. Now, I want to go even deeper into this subject, because there is a mental state that is born when you combine these two principles: acting without depending on emotion and eliminating everything that disperses your energy. And that state completely changes the way you think, decide, and live. The invisible state that turns your mind into a weapon. There is a level of discipline that goes beyond action, beyond impulse control, a level that almost nobody reaches because it demands something deeper than effort. It demands inner silence. Because up to this point, you have already noticed one thing: acting without desire and cutting out distractions changes the game. But there is still a hidden enemy lurking behind the scenes of your mind, something more subtle, more silent, and far more dangerous: your emotional reaction. It is not the thought that destroys you, it is the way you react to it. And this is the point where the third principle is born: immovable mind. In the philosophy of Miyamoto Musashi, this is known as Fudoshin, a mind that does not waver, that does not oscillate, that does not enter into conflict with every thought that arises. Now pay close attention to this, because this is one of the greatest revelations of this journey. You do not need to control every thought. You need to stop reacting to them, because today, your mind probably works like this. A thought arises, you respond. A doubt appears, you go into it. Discomfort comes, you try to flee. And in that process, you lose energy, focus, clarity. It is like being in a constant, unnecessary battle. But when you develop an immovable mind, something changes. The thought comes and passes. The doubt appears and does not dominate you. The discomfort arises and does not control you. You stop negotiating with your own mind, and this creates a kind of stability that few people ever experience, because now you are no longer being swept away. You are observing, and that alone is power. But there is a next level that connects directly to this, and that defines the intensity of your impact on life. Absolute focus, and there is no romanticizing this. The truth is simple and brutal. Divided energy produces a weak life. Look around you. How many things compete for your attention every day? Notifications, social media, worries, multiple tasks, information overload. Your mind never stops. And a mind that never stops never goes deep. Miyamoto Musashi understood this in an almost surgical way. He did not try to do everything. He did not divide his energy. He directed it completely. Because when you concentrate your attention on a single thing, your capacity changes, your execution changes, your presence changes, your results change. And that is why there is a metaphor that summarizes all of this perfectly. A divided mind is like a dull blade. It may appear to be in motion, but it cuts nothing with precision. Now think about the difference. A scattered mind tries to do everything and masters nothing. A focused mind does less, but with tremendous depth. And it is exactly that depth that creates real transformation. It is not about speed, it is about directed intensity. And when you combine this with an immovable mind, you enter a rare state, a state where you act without hesitation, think with clarity, and do not get lost in unnecessary distractions or emotions. Now, I want to go even deeper into this subject, because there is one final element that ties all of this together, something that is not just in your actions or in your mind, but in the way you see yourself and build yourself over time. And when this clicks into place, discipline stops being effort and becomes identity. The identity that defines whether you rise or stay stuck. There is a quiet shift that happens when you stop treating discipline as something you do and start treating it as something you are. And this is not just a difference in words, it is a profound change in your mindset, in the way you make decisions, and especially in the behind the scenes of your routine. Because as long as you still think, I need to have discipline, you automatically create a distance between yourself and the action. It feels like something external, something that requires effort, something you need to activate. And everything that depends on constant effort fails over time. Now observe this. Honestly, how many times have you already tried to be disciplined? How many times did you start well, but could not sustain it? It was not because you did not want it. It was because it had not yet become part of your identity. And here is the truth that changes everything. You do not do discipline, you become disciplined. And this transformation does not happen in one epic moment. It happens in small, repeated, almost invisible decisions. When you get up, even without wanting to. When you act, even when tired. When you maintain the pattern, even without recognition. Each one of those actions is sending a signal to your mind. This is who I am. Miyamoto Musashi built this level of identity throughout his life. He did not depend on motivation, nor on inspiration, nor on a perfect environment. He already was what he needed to be. And when you reach that level, there is no more internal conflict. You no longer waste time deciding whether to do something, you simply do it. And that is what creates a brutal difference between people who live stuck in cycles and those who build a solid trajectory. It is not talent, it is not luck, it is identity built through repetition and consistency. Because in the end, your life is not defined by what you want. It is defined by what you repeat. And here comes one of the most real and uncomfortable statements of all. The 1% do not have more strength. They have fewer excuses. They are not special. They simply do not allow themselves to negotiate with what they have already decided. And when you start to eliminate those internal negotiations, when you stop giving room to excuses, something begins to align inside you. Your mind becomes simpler. Your decisions become faster. Your actions become more direct. And then discipline stops being a constant effort and becomes an automatic pattern. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject because there is one last point, almost invisible, that ties all of this together and turns this identity into something practically unshakable. The invisible line that separates those who change from those who only understand. There is a point in your journey where everything is already clear in your mind, but nothing has changed in your life. And this is the most dangerous place of all, because here you can no longer use the excuse of ignorance. You know what needs to be done, you know where you are going wrong, you know how you should act, but you still keep repeating the same patterns. And this does not happen for lack of discipline. It happens because you have not truly decided yet who you are, because there is a brutal difference between understanding something and becoming it. And most people live trapped exactly in that space. They accumulate knowledge, watch videos, consume content, feel that momentary impact, but they do not cross the line where true transformation begins. And that line is not external, it is inside you. Miyamoto Musashi did not live in that conflict. He did not wake up every day trying to apply discipline. He had already made a quiet choice, who he was, and when that decision is real, your actions stop being an effort and become a natural extension of your identity. You no longer need to convince yourself. You no longer need to negotiate. You simply act. The problem is that this decision requires giving something up. It requires abandoning the version of yourself that still seeks comfort, distraction, ease. It requires facing the truth behind the scenes of your own mind, that many times you know exactly what you need to do, but you choose not to do it, and that weighs on you, because the more awareness you have, the less room there is for excuses. And that is why 99% of people never get there, not because they cannot, but because they do not sustain that internal rupture. They want to change without stopping being who they have always been. They want discipline, but keep feeding the same impulses, the same distractions, the same patterns. And that will never work, because discipline is not about constant effort. It is about defined identity. As long as you are still trying, you have not decided yet. And when you decide, everything starts to align in an almost inevitable way. Your choices become clearer. Your mind stops arguing. Your action becomes direct. You no longer waste time thinking about whether you are going to do something. You just do it. Now, I want to go even deeper into this subject, because there is one final point, even more subtle, that defines whether this identity holds or whether you return once again to the same old cycle. Comment below, I decide who I am. And in the end, if you made it this far, you have already realized that this is not just about discipline. It is about taking control of your own mind, your decisions, and the direction of your life. It is not a light thing, but it is exactly what makes the difference. So let me tell you directly, as someone who is also on this path, if this type of content makes sense to you, subscribe to the channel, because the next videos will shake up your way of thinking even more, and will deepen exactly that level of control that almost nobody develops. And there is one thing I always like to observe. Those who make it to the end of a video like this one are not common. So comment down below, discipline is my path, just so I know who is really taking this seriously. If at any point this video made you reflect, made you uncomfortable, or brought you clarity, hit the like button. That shows that this kind of message needs to reach more people who are also in this silent struggle. And if you felt that this content had real impact on you, click the hype button, because that sends a strong signal to the platform that this is not just another video, it is something that genuinely moves those who watch it. And the more you do that, the more this kind of content grows. And remember the material I mentioned, the path of Japanese discipline. If you want to move beyond theory and apply this in practice, it can help you accelerate this process in a much more direct way. But as I said, it may not remain available for long. So if it makes sense to you, take advantage of it while it is still here. And to continue along this line of growth, there is a video right here on the side that connects perfectly with everything you just watched. It goes even deeper into this internal process of discipline and mental control. Click on it and keep going with me over there.